tonight on CTV News at 6. Plus, it's coming down.
It was hard work to get here. It was frustrating to get here. It took a long time, took money.
Demolition of the former General Hospital building begins in Sault Ste. Marie. And delighting fans high in the sky.
I want to see them do like a flip like turn around.
The Canadian Forces Snowbirds help mark Armed Forces Day in North Bay.
TV News at 6 with Marina Moore and Tony Rima with weather.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A first-degree murder charge has been laid against an 18-year-old in the death of OPP Constable Tarun Bali. CTV News has learned Bali's body will be transferred to the Chief Coroner's Office in Toronto for examination and is expected to arrive sometime tomorrow morning. A procession of emergency vehicles will be escorting him for the approximately 10-hour drive. Bali was 29 years old and has been with the OPP just 2.5 years. Originally from Brampton, Bali was assigned to the Dufferin Detachment in southwestern Ontario, but was on deployment with the James Bay Detachment.
I know his father, and so I reached out, and it's just, like I said, words seem so inadequate. Here's a young person who just wanted to help others, and he volunteered to fill a backfill in Northern Ontario to take on some difficult work. He wanted to help others, and to see someone who just had a good heart, who he was so young, has such a bright future ahead of him. It's heartbreaking.
He's a rookie officer, really. He's only 2.5 years on the job. He's a very hard worker, and police officers have an opportunity to go up north to places like James Bay and do deployments for a period of time. It's kind of extra work for them, and they help with staffing shortages and things like that up in the north. So he was going in the extra mile in service to the people of Ontario.
CTV's Lydia Chubak is in Hearst, and we'll have more on this story later in the newscast. Now to an update on the fatal crash in French River Tuesday. Police say a 23-year-old passenger from Barrie was killed in the single vehicle collision. It happened on Highway 69 yesterday between the exits for Highway 607 and 64, forcing a closure in the area for roughly 9 hours. The long-awaited demolition of a noted Sioux eyesore began today. Crews have started the exterior work at the old General Hospital as the city plans for redevelopment of the nearby waterfront. CTV's Corey Nordstrom was on scene.
Though grating, that sound rings like progress to those in Sault Ste. Marie. The demolition of the former General Hospital has been over 15 years in the making.
It was hard work to get here. It was frustrating to get here. It took a long time, took money. But we are going to get paid back in 6 to 12 years, and it's going to be a community asset instead of a community problem.
Before the demolition began, city officials toured the site where Green Infrastructure Partners, the building's owners, have removed 380 loads of debris, totaling over 4,000 tons since last fall.
They started in January, and there's been a team of anywhere from 7 to 20 people working inside that building and taking all the asbestos out and taking all the things that needed to be taken out to meet proper demolition protocols.
Demolition of the old hospital is expected to finish by the fall, fulfilling its 12-month contract requirement. Next to complete for site owner GIP is a development master plan by year 3 and to apply for building permits within 5.
That will create a new community hub, I would say, on this waterfront area, reactivate the site. And from a city perspective, we'll see new tax assessment coming in, and we'll start to see, the redevelopment of this area, a big boost for the downtown.
Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Well, the wildfire threatening Matagami First Nation is holding at just over 3,100 hectares. The MNR says Timmins 9 sparked May 31st and required heavy aerial fire suppression early on. But for the last week, those tactics have not been needed. The wet weather overnight supported fire suppression and helped reduce the risk of new fires across the region.
The crews are making very good progress, even during the hot, dry weather. But now we have seen about 18 millimeters of rain overnight into Wednesday, and that will definitely help assist with the ongoing fire suppression efforts.
And while the fire has not required crews from outside Ontario, 2 water bombers from Quebec were deployed to support. Meanwhile, the city of Timmins has lifted its fire ban. The ban was put in place June 4th due to high heat and dry conditions in the area. The Timmins Fire Department is reminding people that caution is still needed with open air burning and never leave a fire unattended. Sudbury started a fire ban June 6th. That ban is still in effect. Time now for our first check on weather, and it's been a soggy day for many northern communities, also quite muggy. With the details, we go to CTV's Tony Rima.
Thanks for that, Marina. Yes, it's like a steamy sauna out there right now, and we're going to start with the heat and talk about the rain. There's a heat warning. It's in yellow. It's from Environment Canada in through Kapuskasing, Hearst, Attawapiskat, and you see this area east of North Bay in through Pembroke, about 50 millimeters of rain expected. Special weather statement out for that area. As we take a look now, and it's coming. Here it is, the forecast radar, plenty of activity, thunderstorms, rain, overcast skies. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit, which isn't all that bad. I'll have more weather details a little later in our show. Marina.
Well, Tony, it was also a wet start to Armed Forces Day as the city of North Bay played host to the men and women of the Canadian military, thanking them for their service and sacrifice. CTV's Eric Tashner reports.
Zooming across the skies of North Bay, the Canadian Forces snowbirds delight the elated crowd with their formations and speed. It's the last season the team and jets will soar in their current iteration.
I want to see them do like a flip like turn around in the sky.
Every day they're just working to protect North American airspace. But today, the Canadian military personnel are celebrities.
I've been out of the city for about 10 years and back for about a month, and it's really great to get out here and be around the people.
Armed Forces Day is held annually to recognize the men and women of the Royal Canadian Air Force, U.S. Air Force, and civilians stationed at 22 Wing Canadian Forces Base, which has been in the city for 75 years.
It would not be the same. The city, listen, we embrace the armed forces. We embrace the people that serve in our armed forces, and they are part of our community.
The Skyhawks did not jump due to safety concerns regarding the rainy weather, but that didn't dampen the mood.
Strong and free.
A crowd of about 2,000 waving Canadian flags packed the waterfront, most of them students who, in school, have been learning about the military's role in Canadian security and sovereignty.
We've been learning about lots of world crises right now, the wars that are going on. I very enjoy learning about what's happening in this world.
I served all over. 2 tours in the Middle East. I served from 1967 to 1992. The kids are our future.
With face painting and a chance to try on heavy military gear and a gas mask, people were feeling patriotic.
I'm just happy that I can be here and see all of this.
Proving once again this city and its people are awfully proud of their nation's servicemen and women. Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Looks like a wonderful day for all, as always. Still to come here on CTV News at 6. A group in Sudbury looks to create a supportive housing complex for veterans in need, plus promoting reconciliation 1 kilometer at a time. Details coming up.
I'm Andrew Johnson in Vancouver. Tonight on CTV National News. Half-full hotels and Airbnb owners wondering, where is the World Cup demand?
We thought, oh, this will be a great opportunity for sure to make some extra cash.
Why scoring accommodations during FIFA may be easier and cheaper than anyone thought. Tonight on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
Back to our top story now. An Ontario provincial police constable is being remembered as a dedicated public servant and a perfect gentleman after he was killed in the line of duty near Hearst yesterday. CTV's Lydia Chubak has more on who he was and also what we've learned about the man charged with first-degree murder.
Flags in the town of Hearst are lowered in honor of a police officer. 29-year-old provincial constable Taryn Bali died Tuesday afternoon after being struck by a vehicle while on duty. While assigned to the Dufferin OPP detachment, Bali was on a temporary deployment with the James Bay detachment in Hearst. Members of the James Bay OPP detachment were conducting an investigation in this area, Kendall Concession Road 7 and 6, when Bali was killed in the line of duty.
Officers were attempting to stop the vehicle, and in the process, one officer, PC Bali, was hit by the vehicle driven by the accused.
Police say an 18-year-old Hearst man has been charged with first-degree murder, dangerous operation causing death, flight from police, and several other offenses.
The accused remains in custody at this time. The next court date is on Wednesday, June 24th. In Hearst.
The death has shaken the OPP community.
Our hearts are broken. It's a very difficult time, and just at the heels of Sergeant Malcolm as well, that was tragically lost just a little bit over a month ago.
Colleagues say Bali had been with the OPP for just 2.5 years.
He's described as a guy with the biggest smile, very passionate, hardworking, respected. He wanted to be a police officer since the age of 2 years old. That was always his dream.
Scott Mills of the Ontario Provincial Police Association says the loss to the policing community is great.
From everything that I've heard about Constable Bali, is he was a perfect gentleman. He was extremely well liked by his colleagues and as well as the community.
Hearst Mayor Roger Seguin says the community is mourning alongside the officer's family.
It's really touched people, everyone, not only the member of the OPP, but the community. Those poor people, they're losing a son, 29 years old son, who wants to help in the community.
The OPP says it's working closely with the family on funeral arrangements, and a formal procession is expected in the coming days. The investigation remains ongoing. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Hearst.
Shifting now to some good news when it comes to veterans and first responders housing. An organization that looks to fill need for support is working to open a multi-level complex in Greater Sudbury. CTV's Madison Merrier reports.
My pension was a good pension for 2008. Fast forward now to today's 2026.
What started as a typical Sunday veterans meeting turned into an affordable housing project to address the concerns many veterans face.
There's 60 units altogether. Sort of first dibs, if you will go to the 10 or 12 that we recently housed. It's important to have good financial secure location for veterans. Mental health is the top of the issue. Let's have some secure housing so that we can take care of all the other things and not have to worry about where to live.
Jensen with the group Veteran and First Responder Housing says surveys and meetings have helped determine the resources needed for the proposed build, like mental health supports for all of the 7 groups of first responders.
The 3 obvious ones are paramedics, firefighters, and police, as well as veterans, but 911 operators, nurses, and corrections as well. So there's 7 altogether. Not to say that others that aren't in a frontline role under the same sort of adverse conditions and anxiety producing and PTSD producing environments.
While he says local fundraising has been helpful, the build is estimated at $25 million, which is why the group is hoping to gain federal funding and get shovels in the ground this fall. In a statement to CTV News, Sudbury MP Vivian Lapointe said, the federal government has created funding streams to help organizations access the necessary capital they need to build affordable housing. As this project moves through the planning phases, I will work alongside the group to advocate for the funding needed to get this built. Jensen says there are around 4,000 soldiers across Canada who are living near homelessness or who are homeless. So he's hoping the proposed building can be replicated across Canada. Madison Merrier, CTV News, Sudbury.
Sudbury City Councillors got their chance to weigh in on a report about the staffing levels and workload of the city's bylaw officers. According to a report, bylaw officers in Greater Sudbury are handling almost 1,400 complaints a year. That compares to about 650 complaints in similar Ontario municipalities. The report found overall volumes are trending up year over year, while staffing for bylaw has not increased. Council had several questions, including the breakdown of complaints and work bylaw is doing instead of police.
It's not something that's really surprising. We know that with the increase in the population that we've had in the last number of years, that there's a bit of a lag, and it will take us a little bit of time to catch up and fill in those gaps. So the report clearly identified where the issues are.
Obviously, we're getting a lot of different calls. I did suggest today that we might look at some of our bylaws and see which ones might not be in the modern stages. We might have to have some revisions in order to reduce some of the bylaw calls and the responses, and that might be helpful. So I'm glad that staff were on board with that, and I'd like to look into that a little bit more.
Council has directed staff to come up with a business plan so that the city can look at the potential of hiring 2 more full-time officers to add to its complement. A heads up for transit users in Timmins. Effective immediately, Timmins Transit says it will not be servicing stops on Falcon Street and Earl Street. Falcon Street will be closed for 4 to 6 weeks to facilitate construction of the new rail station. A temporary stop is available at Queen and Gervais. Back over to Tony now for a check on the current conditions this Wednesday evening. Tony, do you think we need to water the garden tonight?
I take a hard pass on that, Marina. We're going to get some rain depending upon where you live overnight. And let's take a look at our wind gusts at this hour. Not all that bad, but depending upon where you live, things are going to rise and, of course, fall. And it's going to be kind of windy in through Timmins tomorrow evening, 38 kilometers per hour. And there's a reason because of that. I'll get to that a little later. And then, of course, the wind kind of drops, but for the most part of the next couple of days, not too bad. Here are your current temperatures. In through Timmins, a mix of sun and cloud, 24 degrees. It's a popular number. Same number in through Cochrane. Moosonee, again, that heat warning, 26 degrees. They're baking there. Kapuskasing, 25. We have 23 for Chapel. A little warmer for the Sioux, 27 degrees. A little cooler. Overcast and 18 for Parry Sound as we head north. 20 degrees, mix of sun and cloud in through North Bay. Kirkland Lake, 23. Temiskaming Shores, 22. A lot of cloud cover there. In Sudbury, well, sun, cloud, 24. Same temperature, as I mentioned before, popular number in through Espanola, Elliott Lake, Gore Bay, 23. 7-day forecast still ahead. Marina.
Thank you, Tony. Next on CTV News at 6. Farmers protest on Parliament Hill against a proposed railway project. We have reaction. And a surprise visit from a pair of moose has some northern campers in awe. The Liberal government presented new legislation today that would block access to social media for kids under the age of 16. The proposed bill covers 7 types of harmful content, including content that induces children to harm themselves, and would require companies that run AI chatbots to have a duty to act responsibly, such as crisis intervention protocols. The bill would allow social media platforms to obtain exemptions if they put sufficient safeguards in place. The exemption would not apply for adult content sites. You can learn more about the new bill on our website at ctvnews.ca. Hundreds of farmers gathered on Parliament Hill today, mobilizing against Ottawa's high-speed train project. This in the wake of a statement by the Parti Québécois that it would withdraw the province's support if it wins in the fall election. CTV's Jean-Pierre Beauchemin has the latest.
Farmers took their protest to Parliament Hill today, intent on derailing the Alto high-speed train project.
I'm the 7th generation on the farm, and the train, it's really not good for the next generations, and it can destroy agriculture.
They say they fear losing land, losing part of their livelihood. Conservatives lent their support to their cause.
To fight for our rural communities, to fight for our taxpayers and for affordability against this $90 billion liberal white elephant.
This and other signs say farmers of growing opposition. On Tuesday, the Parti Québécois vowed to withdraw Quebec's support for the high-speed train project if elected in the October provincial vote, and it's leading in the polls. It says the goal of the project is bolstering Canadian unity and says the central issue for Quebecers is local mobility, not travel to Ontario. But several mayors, including Montreal's and Quebec City's, defended the 1,000-kilometer electric rail corridor to link Toronto to Quebec City. It's good for the economy, they say, good for the environment. The federal government says it would create more than 50,000 jobs and that Ottawa is footing the bill.
This is a project, a formidable nation-building project that includes Quebec. And of course, were it not to include Quebec, then there's really no project. But it is a federal project.
But in Mirabel, opposition is particularly fierce. Thousands of farms were expropriated decades ago for an airport terminal that never really took off. They want to stop any train project that could section out the region. And farmers say they'll continue to hold protests, continue to try to have their voices heard by Ottawa. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Mirabel, Quebec.
The much-anticipated opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge may be delayed again. Initially, Prime Minister Mark Carney said the bridge connecting Ontario and Michigan would be open at the end of the week. But the White House is suggesting that timeline has not been finalized.
Everyone's working hard to make sure the bridge is open as soon as possible. There's no big drama. If it takes a little longer, it'll take a little longer, but this will benefit Canadians, Americans, business, tourists, residents for decades and decades to come.
The White House says the Trump administration remains committed to securing the best possible deal for the American people. A possible reference to Trump's demands that the U.S. immediately get some of the bridge tolls collected. Canada and Michigan co-own the bridge, while Canada covered the entire $6.4 billion cost of construction and will later split the money from tolls with Michigan once that cost is recouped. This news comes as President Trump says he is not looking to renew the current free trade deal between Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
USMCA did one thing that I loved. After 6 years, it comes up for renewal. I don't know that I'm going to renew it because, to be honest with you, the United States does much better. Hey, we don't need anything that Canada has. We don't need anything that Mexico has, but they need everything that we have. And they have to treat us better. You know, with Mexico and Canada, we have trade deficits. We should have surpluses with them.
By July 1st, officials must notify their counterparts whether they want to renew CUSMA for a 16-year period or agree to an annual review process. Earlier this month, Canada signaled its intentions to renew the deal as is. The U.S. launched airstrikes early this morning against Iran after blaming the regime for the crash of an American helicopter. The U.S. says it carried out strikes against Iranian military and surveillance sites. Iran fired back with drone and missile attacks against U.S. military targets in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. It's another escalation that threatens to derail efforts to end the war. It's also the second time this week that back-and-forth strikes have tested the ceasefire after Iran and Israel targeted each other on Monday. U.S. Central Command took to social media saying American forces began launching self-defense strikes against Iran at the commander-in-chief's direction in response to the downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter. It also calls the mission a, quote, proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. And U.S. President Donald Trump posting on Truth Social calling Iran's military a, quote, complete and total mess. He also says Iran has, quote, taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. And there's more news ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Tony Rima and just how long we're in for this wet weather. Tony.
Thanks for that, Marina. Well, the wet weather is going to continue at least until Sunday, and then after Monday, not all that bad. High heat, especially in through Kapuskasing, Hearst, and Attawapiskat, the far north. Temperatures near 30 degrees, and then with the humidex, it'll feel like 35, 37 degrees Celsius. And we're going to go to our systems map, and this is what's affecting us. We We have a cold front right here. We have a low along with a high. And as we hit the clicker, they do somewhat of a dance and move out of our broadcast region. Remember when I said about those wind gusts? Well, that's because of this impending storm. Thunderstorms going to hit our region. The wind will pick up right before it hits our broadcast region, and it's going to be wet, yes, in through Friday. Now let's take a look at our overnight temperatures. In through Sudbury, 17 degrees. Guess what? It's going to rain, at least a few showers. Same temperature for Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, mainly cloudy. Temiskaming Shores rain, North Bay rain, 17 degrees. Sounds like a broken record, doesn't it? In through Moosonee, still warm, 19 degrees. A chance of showers, mainly cloudy for Cap and Hearst, 16. Wawa, well, a chance of showers, 15. Gore Bay, a little cooler, 14, and rain. And Parry Sound, 18 degrees overnight. Now here's your 7-day weather forecast, starting with Sudbury, Nickel Belt. As we take a look, well, risk of thunderstorms tomorrow, 28. With the humidex, it'll feel more like 32. Ugh, muggy, awful. Showers continuing through Friday. Saturday, we start to get some clearing. Temperature starts to drop on Sunday. Monday, hey, take a look at that. No rain for a couple days. In fact, make it 3. Sun and cloud on Wednesday. As we head on over to Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma, risk of thunderstorms, 25 degrees on Friday. Temperature drops, rain persists, going to continue throughout the weekend, off and on. You know, you might need that rain jacket, umbrella. Monday looks pretty good, and next week, nice. It's going to be cooler. Most of us can appreciate that. In through Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, risk of thunderstorms, 30 degrees. Again, add the humidity, 34, 35. It'll be a warm one. The rain continues right through the weekend. We get a break temperature-wise on Sunday. Then after that, next week, looks pretty nice. 18 and 19 degrees on the board. Temiskaming Shores and Kirkland Lake, risk of thunderstorms, still hot, still muggy. Temperature starts to fall. One constant, the rain. We start to get a little bit more clearing in through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Temperatures also more seasonal, which is very comforting. And finally, your 7-day weather forecast for North Bay, West Nipissing. Tomorrow, risk of thunderstorms, temperature 28 degrees. With the humidity, it'll feel like 32. The temperature drops on Friday, but again, more rain, a little bit more sunshine in through Saturday, Sunday. Monday, look at that, 18 degrees. This time of year, it should be about 21 degrees. And, you know, it's going to be very comfortable out there. So that's your 7-day weather forecast. Let's take a look at our pick of the day. And this is courtesy of one of our directors here at CTV, James Januszewski in Garson. And he snapped this beautiful picture of a chipmunk with a peanut in its mouth. Thanks so much, James. By the way, if you'd like to send your weather pictures, you can do so at weather.pictures@bellmedia.ca. And June is National Indigenous History Month. Lindsay Alick tells us about a Sudbury initiative aimed at reconciliation.
Whenever you travel outside of Canada, you need to purchase health insurance in case you get sick or have an accident while away from home. But even if you do purchase travel insurance, there are cases where it can be denied if a company feels you were sick before you left. CTV's Pat Foran has details.
Bahos Ali of Oshawa went to Mexico in April of 2024, and before he left, he purchased travel medical insurance.
Did pay for travel insurance as per usual, you know. You kind of just have it as a precaution. It's always there.
A week before they were to fly to Cancun, he felt like he had the flu, so he went to a walk-in clinic.
I went to see a medical physician, and they confirmed that it was just a run-of-the-mill sickness, and I should be perfectly fine to go on the trip.
But 2 days after Ali got to the resort, he started to feel unwell. He later had seizures and slipped into a coma.
I don't remember much of anything afterwards.
He received treatment in Mexico for 8 days and then was flown back to Canada by air ambulance. All his bills were paid, but a year later he was told he was not covered and he would have to pay back over $147,000.
It just was like a moment of panic, stress, like what are we going to do about it?
An investigation into the claim found Ali had gone to a walk-in clinic before the trip. Manulife told CTV News Mr. Ali was experiencing symptoms and had sought medical care related to a pre-existing condition. Since the condition was known at the time of travel, this affected how coverage was applied. reimbursement of the amount paid is owed to Global XL Management.
This is really sad because it's a lot of money.
Insurance expert Martin Firestone says it's an unfortunate situation.
Doctors in here say that it had nothing to do with the flu or any of the symptoms that he presented. The insurance company is saying, we believe there's a connection between the two. That's the problem.
Ali's father says everyone should know, even if you have travel health insurance, your bills may not be covered.
When they need them, they will respond them. They find the excuse not to pay.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Women in British Columbia are facing increased delays getting mammograms, and that's leading to delayed diagnosis and anxiety. As CTV's Penny Daflos tells us, the problem has been growing for years.
It's uncomfortable for some, outright painful for others, but regardless, many women in BC over 40 go forward with a mammogram. The problem is they're waiting longer and longer for results.
Women assume no news is good news, which is wrong because their mammogram hasn't even been read yet.
That's because trained radiologists earn far more analyzing other images, including x-rays, MRIs, and CT scans, so they're opting to do that work over reading mammograms.
It's been like that for many years, and it's getting harder to get radiology residents to do the subspecial training in breast. And you can't blame them. You know, they've got student debt to pay. They want to buy a house.
The technologists taking the scans are in a similar situation, calling the staffing shortage a crisis.
Techs are feeling burnout all over the place. They're being forced to do more with little. And, you know, at the end of the day, what suffers is the patient care.
In a statement, the Ministry of Health says since 2023, more people in BC are benefiting from expanded screening, increased access to tests for cancer, and improved treatments, and that health authorities are working to collaborate on strategies to increase system capacity.
You may be wondering why artificial intelligence is not being used to ease the workload. Studies conducted in European countries that are already piloting AI say the results are promising, but it's not ready for prime time yet.
Well, AI was not a substitute of the breast radiologist. The breast radiologist was still the one who made the final recall decision. So at this point, AI is not taking over.
Because this is life or death cancer screening with little room for error and a lot of room for anxiety waiting for results.
Even for women who turn out not to have cancer, it's really awful waiting any length of time.
And for those who do, earlier detection increases the chances of survival and decreases the cost to the healthcare system. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
June is National Indigenous History Month in Canada, and today Greater Sudbury Police Service launched the 2026 Truth and Reconciliation Relay, marking the 5th year since its inception. Organizers say it's a symbolic event that serves as a catalyst for reflection, learning, and solidarity. CTV's Lindsay Alick reports.
We're looking now at not reconciliation, but reconciliation.
Constable Anik Denis and her partner, Katrina Pinawanaquit, started the Relay as a Greater Sudbury Police internal initiative in 2022. It's been expanding ever since.
Everything starts somewhere, but just to get to the 5th year is absolutely amazing, and then to see how many people are joining year after year, it makes it feel a little bit more impactful.
Participants are invited to watch educational videos, read through the calls to action, and select one that resonates with them personally.
Our interpretation of different calls to action might be different from person to person, but we're really encouraging organizations to hone in and focus on one call to action that as a collective they can work towards.
Then for the month of September, participants log kilometers, running, swimming, or walking, taking the time to reflect on what they learned.
Same goal this year, so it is still 150,000 kilometers. Last year we didn't hit it, but I think it's appropriate that we don't hit it, because when we look at the changes that still need to be done, we just look at very recently how Sudbury went under a boil water advisory. There are communities up north that have long-standing boil water advisories, so I don't even think that it would be appropriate for us to hit our target, because reconciliation work and work that is still left to be done is so vast. Are there any agencies here saying they're going to take it?
The organization with the most kilometers receives the Championing Change paddle. Adam Demers is a patrol staff sergeant with GSPS. Last year, he clocked just shy of 500 kilometers and placed second overall.
I had some holidays, so I was off, had the kids involved, cycling, walking, we did some swimming. A lot of outdoor stuff.
Last year, 300 participants from over 20, mostly local organizations, participated in the event. Lindsay Alick, CTV News, Sudbury.
And still ahead here on CTV News at 6. We have a behind-the-scenes look at how TSN will be covering the FIFA World Cup and some programming changes to note. Details ahead. A youth support program in Sudbury that was on the verge of closing has been thrown a lifeline. City Council has stepped in with emergency funding to keep operations running. CTV's Amanda Hicks reports.
Sudbury City Council voted in favor of approving $75,000 for a program called Aussie's Garage. The money comes from the city's tax rate stabilization reserve and will keep the funding secured through the end of 2026. Council says if third-party funding comes through later, the city will be reimbursed.
Let's get to individuals that may end up in this part of the system before they end up there. And again, it's a very small investment. The probability of federal funding coming in is pretty good, but just in case, we have the funding secured for the rest of the year.
The program works with at-risk youth between the ages of 13 and 19. It was founded by Rick Osborne and his wife Heather, who have been working with Sudbury District Restorative Justice to secure long-term funding.
Otherwise, we would have had to shut down for the summer and try to find support in the fall, and we would have lost the continuity of the young people we're working with.
Osborne says there is a gap in services for at-risk teens transitioning into adulthood.
We have a lot of agencies out here, but we have a few big gaps. And one of the big gaps is 18 years of age. You're on the street. You go to jail. So that's the demographic we're really looking at, is guys who have learning disabilities that are falling through, emotional problems that are falling through, and criminal problems.
Aussie's currently operates out of a downtown hotel, but Perron says there have been talks with the developers of 30 St. Anne Road, which is being converted into a 135-unit supportive housing facility.
We're going to be working at transitioning from a current location, which is fairly costly, in order to reduce the cost. We're moving over to 30 St. Anne's in the next couple of weeks.
Also, Perron says the city's Parks and Recreation Department is planning a summer pilot program with Aussie's Garage in the Ryan Heights area to offer youth hands-on experience working on motorbikes. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
A committee of volunteers in North Bay packed a record number of backpacks for people in need over the weekend. The Compassionate Committee for the Homeless filled 103 backpacks on Saturday with essentials. They were then taken to several frontline organizations for distribution. This was the 7th annual Backpacks of Love campaign. Well done. Serena Williams has returned to the tennis court in successful fashion with a Canadian partner.
Serena Williams is back.
Williams and Canadian star Victoria Mboko teamed up at the HSBC Championship at the Queen's Club in London, where they won their opening doubles match. It was Williams' first competitive match in more than 4 years.
You know, the good news is we can do better. I can do better. I don't know about you. Did great. We both could always. There's always room for improvement, you know. Yeah.
Williams and Mboko's next match is tomorrow against another Canadian star, Leila Fernandez, and her German partner, Laura Sigmund. It's the biggest sporting event in the world, and TSN is bringing you all the action. CTV's Andrea Case went behind the scenes to show you how the network is working to bring you nonstop coverage.
The hard work never stops. Team Canada's men's national soccer team's road to the 2026 FIFA World Cup has been years in the making. The same could be said for the team at TSN, led by executive producer Ken Volden.
Year and a half before Qatar, so 5.5 years.
The Saskatoon native has been at TSN for 3 decades.
Was always passionate about sports, grew up playing every sport, but realized fairly soon that this was not going to be, like most people, it was not going to be my calling, but loved it. But also I think sports is a great palette to tell human stories.
From Toronto to Vancouver, from a real set to a virtual set, technology plays a huge part in TSN's coverage of FIFA World Cup. 13 games will be held in Vancouver, another 13 will be held in Toronto, 13 in Mexico, and 78 in the U.S. At 39 days, this tournament will be bigger and longer than ever before.
104 games. To put in context, the Qatar World Cup was 64 games total. And at 64 games, we're going to still be in the group stage. So it is a massive undertaking. For most of the group stage, we have 4 games a day, some starting as early as 12 noon, some starting as late as 12 midnight Eastern. So we have multiple crews working in operations and our editorial crews. But yeah, it's buckle up time. It's long haul.
No pressure?
Yeah, there's pressure. It's awesome. No, I think we're all nervous, and I think that's a good thing. It makes us sharp and something that is different. This is different, and so I think we embrace that.
Tune in to TSN, Crave, and CTV for all the excitement. Andrea Case, CTV News.
And with today the unofficial kickoff to the FIFA World Cup 2026, there are countdown concerts in Toronto, Los Angeles, and Mexico City. Canadian rock legend Bryan Adams will headline a star-studded show at Fort York. The show will also feature performances by Toronto rockers The Beaches and a special collaboration between Wyclef Jean and Canadian singer-songwriter I. And just so you know, we will have live FIFA coverage tomorrow and Friday on CTV. So our 5 p.m. newscast will not be airing. Our 6 p.m. newscast is expected to run as usual. You can keep up to date with us anytime at ctvnewsnorthernontario.ca and on the CTV News app. Musicals on the big screen and Tony Award winners on the small screen. David Daniel hits the stage in tonight's Hollywood Report.
It's a love song. It's a tale of a love from long ago. It's a sad song. We're gonna sing it again.
The official trailer is out for Hadestown, the musical. The Tony and Grammy-winning show featuring the original Broadway stars is headed to theaters beginning July 24th for 5 nights only.
This isn't the end. This is just the beginning.
Actually, it's the end. Netflix has announced its award-winning stage show Stranger Things: The First Shadow will bring down the curtain in London's West End on December 27th and wrap up its Broadway run on January 3rd.
There is an excitement.
Leslie Manville has a new gig. The newly minted Tony Award winner has joined the cast of the Prime Video series Escorted as a cabaret legend and a force of nature. Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso and Office Romance is set to star as her son, as well as writing and producing the show. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
The Bank of Canada is holding its overnight interest rate at 2.25%. The central bank says it's seeing limited evidence that higher energy prices triggered by the U.S. war with Iran are fueling broad-based inflation. But Governor Tiff Macklem says the economic impact from that conflict has increased since the bank's April decision.
Higher energy prices and disruptions in global supply chains are weighing on global growth and pushing up inflation worldwide. At the same time, the U.S. administration continues to propose new tariffs, and trade policy uncertainty remains elevated.
Canada's inflation rate rose to 2.8% in April, and Macklem has said the bank expects it to hover around 3% before gradually easing toward the 2% target. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar continues to hover around 72 cents U.S. today. West Texas Intermediate is up $3.55 to 91.75. Western Canadian Select is down $2.37 to end the day at 74.06. And the TSX dipped more than 260 points today, now sitting at a little over 34,000. And we'll take a look at some key prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold down 188.73, closing the day at 40.70.93 U.S. an ounce. Silver dropped $2, copper down 13 cents, and nickel dipped 11 cents, ending at 8.04 U.S. a pound. Back we go to Tony now for a look at Thursday's forecast so you can plan your day.
Thanks for that, Marina. Plenty of rain right across the broadcast region. Let's take a look at our weather forecast. Starting with Sudbury, 28 degrees, risk of thunderstorms. Thunderstorm risk, a little warmer, 29. And through Timmins, a little sunshine too. The Sioux, you'll get some sun, but still a risk of thunderstorms, 24 degrees. As we head on over to North Bay, 26 degrees, a risk of thunderstorms should be about 21 degrees as a daytime high. In through the Gateway City, Parry Sound, a risk of thunderstorms, 20. And in through Temiskaming Shores, 27 degrees and a risk of thunderstorms. Marina.
Thanks for that, Tony. Well, finally for us tonight, a magical moment for a family from Waterloo. They got to see some truly northern wildlife at their camp in Sunridge. We get the details from CTV's Angela Gemmell.
Me. What do we do? The Ninneber family was enjoying an evening at their cottage on Bernard Lake near Sundridge when this mama and baby moose wandered up from the water.
Really special. Like, people don't just see moose on the lake.
And it's like, yeah, to see the wild, like, let alone coming into your backyard like that. I mean, it doesn't happen for a lot of people, so we're pretty grateful for that.
Jessica says she saw the mama moose first and called her husband, who'd been swimming about 20 feet away. That's when the calf came in sight. The couple's two older children were still awake and came outside to check out the wildlife firsthand.
Oh, they talked about it, like, they talked about it nonstop. And then the fun is, though, when our second youngest woke up, they're trying to tell him about the moose, and he's like, what? Like, what do you mean there's a moose in the yard?
Both call it a surreal experience that the family won't soon forget.
Yeah, the sunset and also the moose in between. I'm like, how did this happen? So it really just catches you off guard. You're not expecting that.
The couple say they've owned the cottage for the past 5 years and joke that the listing didn't include all the wildlife they'd be able to get up close to.
We saw porcupine the other night. I think deer maybe 3 times in the 5 years.
The winter.
Yeah.
On the lake, they'll walk over.
The Ninnebers say the response to the video online has been positive, with many commenting the animals recognized a fellow mom in Jessica and knew they were in a safe place. Angela Gemmell, CTV News, Sudbury.
Well, that's what you call a true welcome to Northern Ontario. And that's all the time we have here on CTV News at 6. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow at 6, and Ian Campbell is in tonight at 11:30. Good night.